Welcome, welcome, welcome.
This is Twin Tail Studios podcast starring
Adam Sadler
and Brady. And this is your number one Pokemon podcast. Unofficial news and
I told you we're not doing that.
Oh, sorry. This is the hard-hitting political news podcast where we talk about all of your pressing political takes or political takes.
Nope.
Hold on, let me open up the other tab.
This is a story about a game, podcast about stories in games.
Yeah,
this episode is about narrative in games.
Story mode. Yeah, story modes. Right. That's the term.
Inspired by a game we tried to play a little bit of today. Last week or something.
We'll dig our fingers into those pies in a minute here. How's this break been going? You're on a break from work now, or
no?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
This has been a couple weeks since our last episode. I think we're pretty much going to stick to the schedule of every other week. Maybe
unless things heat up, because this is a kind of like a tangent, but we were talking about 2026 plans and stuff, and it's a shame because we have so many things we want to do, but we have to space out projects. So it's I'm always impatient, but
not to dive into that political firestorm we were talking about there, but the tariff situation that just popped up again, that's going to make things more hairy. So we got some stuff to figure out.
It'll change tomorrow or the next episode. By the time this episode drops, it'll be something different. So,
let's not get into that. That's a whole other podcast. I think we can start. But anyway, we're 2026 is up in the air about what our plans are. I think the big focus is our first game, making sure it funds and we deliver and all that stuff. So that's kind of pretty much all we can plan for. We have all these cool ideas of things to do, but really they're just ideas.
So we'll have to fill up space in the podcast when we do drop episodes, just talking about what we want to do or lots of.
We can still talk about we can still talk about the development of the project, and we have to remember that we have people in the Discord that we're our playtesters and stuff that know about the game, but people outside of that don't really know much about the game yet. So we haven't really got into the meat of it yet. So there's still plenty of things to talk about.
Anything happening in your neck of the woods? Because I got plenty, but I know I always go on too long during the opening of an episode.
Honestly, just been busy with work and polishing the project. Mouse Light Adventure, still working on that. We can talk more about that here in a minute when we talk about
studio updates. We need to have a theme song for each segment because we cut out that we have that perfectly good theme song from Joint Operations we aren't using anymore, which I miss.
See, the problem is with what I've been up to is everything falls into these categories of things we have. We have things and we have
we'll get some more hobbies
sections in the podcast. I did do a little bit of painting. I did see that there was a Kill Team announcement that I completely missed by a couple days, and I saw it. There was a new box coming out, and it has campaign rules for competitive and solo play with a little map campaign. That's pretty cool.
And there's been no other updates for that since that.
Just the announcement. And then they also Games Workshop also announced a new Warhammer Quest. Unfortunately, it is in the Age of Sigmar, the Mortal Realms, which is strange because they have the old world now, and it seems to be pretty popular. It sells very well, and that's a perfect setting to go back and bring back that Warhammer, the classic Warhammer Quest, in the old world. But I'm still interested to learn more. Hopefully, it's better than what happened with Cursed City. I never even bought that one. I think I've bought every other version of Warhammer Quest that came out. But I did not buy that one, not just because of the availability issue, but also I just heard that there were balance issues and the rules weren't great and stuff. So
part of me wishes I had an appreciation for the whole Age of Sigmar, or what is it? What the Mortal Realms? The Mortal Realms.
It is weird because I do have appreciation for it. There are things I like about it. It is a very ripe setting for faction, different kinds of factions and war and stuff like that. But it is very over the top. It's very mythical, and It's not bad, but when I compare it to the old world, I just have such a soft spot for the old world because of nostalgia and everything. It can't really compare with the old world for me.
You know what? I had a format suggestion because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I feel like what pulls me into podcasts, or I look forward to podcasts, is people talking about news items. I love listening to a video game podcast or talking about the newest things that are announced or blah blah. I listen to Secret Cabal podcast. Shout out Secret Cabal. I so often just like fast forward the chatter and get to the news segment, just because I like to see maybe something I missed. We should like, instead of doing like, what have you been doing, like talk about one or two news items, and just like that could be like,
Yeah, that requires research. So go ahead,
I'll do it. Yeah, I always have like a little news drop I want to chat about or something. But like, I think it's more because, like you said, most of like what we've been doing is like either studio stuff or games we've been playing. Or
I think that's my problem, is that I like lots of tabletop games, but I really specifically focus on news when it comes to Games Workshop and Warhammer. So I'm very in tune with that, aside from the fact that I missed that announcement of Kill Team. But I'm not like up to date on all the tabletop game news. So
no, it could be. I'm gonna talk about like the chromatic box set of the arcade thing. I'm gonna talk about like.
Nobody wants to hear about that.
It's a news item. It's topical, like stuff. And like the tariff thing, that's news. Like any kind of news. I just like current events because like it's a weekly podcast, talk about punctuated like what's going on. So I think that's probably what we'll be aiming for the opening episode. But anyway,
but not tariffs. Nobody wants to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean there's like it's relevant, like there's gonna be some tariffs.
It is very impactful to the tabletop games industry, and it sucks for a lot of. It's probably not as a big deal for people like us because we are not relying on the game income to be our primary income because we don't do it full time. If we were a full time company, it would be a huge issue. For us, we can adjust what we ask for in our game found to compensate for what we think tariffs might be. Then again, there's nothing to predict because they change daily. It's whatever. So
yeah, I always say like I'm not gonna get political because we run a company, but Donald Trump sucks. Is that political? Is that political?
Anybody who knows us knows our feelings on that. So that's not a big surprise.
It's like almost not political these days. It's more just like it's basic human decency. So that's pretty much what's been happening. I don't have much like news because like I've been just playing so much Pokemon, like it's crazy. Like
speaking of that, I was watching Breaking Bad last night when I was going to bed because I watched that Substance movie you talked about.
Yeah, I'll get into
which
that
was
during
weird.
The end of the episode.
But I put on Breaking Bad after I was unfolding laundry, and I was like, I'm just gonna break my Switch out because I haven't played it forever. And we were talking about Pokemon Sword, and I was like, I remember playing through a lot of that, but I never beat it. So I wanted to go back and see where I left off. And I forgot it's pretty fun little game. I didn't play much of it, but I completely forgot that there was that co-op like raid mode, like max evolution battles or something.
Dynamax, yeah.
But I don't remember ever playing that. I might have played it, but I don't remember.
I tried this morning because I was just kind of in that wild zone area. And like in my game, because like I'm the same way where I had it set aside for so long. I haven't touched my Switch in almost 2 years. I feel like it was like super dusty, but now I can't put it down. I've been playing so many games on it, but that was one of them. And I tried out one of these like little raid things where you team up with 3 other people, but they were like, they fill out the slots with just AI allies if you can't find anybody, because I have no friends and nobody was roaming around there. So I tried it out. It's like, it's what you expect. It's like you just choose one Pokemon. Every player has one Pokemon. You fight a big one, and then if you take him down, you can like capture him. So I captured Noctowl, which was the big owl.
Did the fight over who captured him then?
I think everybody gets a version of them, I assume, because like you pull out this huge ball and you throw a giant Pokeball at it and capture it.
For some reason that's sounding familiar, so maybe I did actually play it and just didn't think much of it. Like,
yeah, it's not much. I mean, it's cute, but it's like I wonder what else. Cause you mentioned like you can party up, but I don't know if you do stuff beyond that, because you can like roam around in that wild zone, and apparently you can see other people phase in and out like when you're nearby. But if you're with your friends, I'm wondering if you can all like roam around together. I don't know.
Well, I doubt it.
Okay,
I doubt it.
Anyway, this is the Pokemon episode. Talk about Pokemon. No, I did want to mention, because I'll probably skip this in the like what have you been playing, because I've been playing a lot of board game stuff, but I've been playing so much of the Pokemon Crystal, Polished Crystal, which is like a ROM hack updated version of Crystal. So I have a cartridge of that I've been playing on my Chromatic, and it's got like, first off, it's amazing. Like it's one of the, I think it's regarded as one of the best like versions of Pokemon, just from all the options it has and stuff. And it really kind of like, what do you call it? Cemented a lot of the formula stuff that you see nowadays in fomented insurrection. But yeah, it's a really good game, really fun. It's a perfect little handheld game, and it gave me a much deeper appreciation for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Can't stop playing that dang game. I finally beat Zelda I'll save this for the gaming section. Let's talk about the studio news.
You always say that. You're like, save this for that. Just talk about what everyone talks about.
Well, if I don't have a structure, because like anybody that knows me knows that I ramble. Like, for example, we're 10 minutes in an episode and I've been talking about Pokemon, just offhanded.
So, Twin Tail Studios, what is up with the company? Well, speaking of for fun things, registering for VAT, that's fun. Going through that. Just planning for fulfillment, all this stuff that you get in place before we actually launch the GameFound, which is still months away.
Yeah, listeners should be very reassured. If they're planning on backing the campaign, it's like we've been diligently researching like anything that could possibly come up, because a lot of people, I assume, early on in this whole like crowdfunding bubble that's going on, people probably didn't even bother looking into this stuff until after the funding, and they're like, oh crap, I just lost all the money I raised because I forgot to account for X, Y, and Z. So
yeah, we partnered up, I think mentioned previously, with Quartermaster Logistics, and they're pros about this, and they have a lot of things in place to help prep for the campaign. So we're doing, what we can while we wait. We're still waiting for the rest of the art, the initial artwork. We got one map tile piece in from Hennig, which looks awesome, but we're waiting on a couple more so we can actually print demo kits, which we plan on sending a select number of those to some content creators that might want to preview the game. Graphic design is pretty far along. I think now Chris is just laying out the rule book, and then once that's done, all the game content's graphics are done.
But you can see little teases of some of the graphics on GameFound, because we posted our first update. Our first update's up there, so
I guess that's important. We did post an update. Anybody who listens to this podcast is probably following the GameFound. So
if you're not,
big
you should feel silly if you're not. You should definitely hop on that.
If you're not, go follow it. We previewed Tom's first sculpt of Avram. And speaking of sculpts, he's finishing up Rancel right now.
Yeah, Rancel is
which
good.
We'll show that one soon. And once, I think we're only going to need like the heroes and then the first villain for the demo kit. So we're going to 3D print those so we can actually start printing the demo kit while the sculpts are being worked on. But that's the next step, is get the demo kit done so we can kind of get some people previewing the game. Because honestly, the only people who've played it so far is us and playtesters, which our feedback from playtesters has been they've been enjoying it, which is awesome, and they've been giving great feedback.
Yeah, and what's useful too, like this is kind of something worthy to note, because a lot of people, it sounds like arrogant saying this, but we get contacted by fans. Like, we have fans, which is weird, but people who know us, they know our games. They'll say, hey, I'm a huge fan of this game, or Street Masters or Altered Quest. How's this game similar? It's interesting to note too, like the playtesters we have came to playtest because they are fans of our games, and like it seems like there's a consensus that this is like our best. I mean, we already thought this is our best streamlined design. Like, this is the best thing we've designed. But
honestly, I don't even know. I know that playtesters would like it, but I don't think they've compared it to our previous designs. But one thing to note is that they've been wanting to playtest on Tabletop Simulator,
which is saying something.
Is not the most fun way to playtest a game, but they want to play it, which is awesome, and they play it multiple times.
Everyone's got different tastes, but I would say playing a game on Tabletop Simulator is almost the worst way to experience that game, like a tabletop game, I think, because I play tabletop games because I want to touch the things, I want to sit down at a table. Like,
what if you played it over the phone with somebody and they had all the pieces and you couldn't see anything? That's worse, isn't it?
I guess you could think of. I'm talking about like normal ways to engage the game.
I'm just being a smartass,
because in my mind, there's probably only one good way to deal a game. I mean, you can play digital implementations, but those are better because not as clunky as TTS. But
regardless to say, development's going really well. The game is in a very good place right now. Right now, we're kind of just focusing on balance and difficulty, making sure, because we can have a whole podcast. We might do the next podcast episode about difficulty in co-op games, because I probably have a different opinion than most people, but that's kind of the next focus, is like making sure the difficulty is right, because you don't want it to be too punishingly hard. You want it to be welcoming for new players who like aren't really hardcore tabletop gamers, but you also want those people that are hardcore tabletop gamers to have that chunk of that chunky challenge that they want, where they can dig their teeth into it.
I have a lot of thoughts on that, but yeah, we can save it for another episode.
But this particular game, we want to be more of an entry entry level game where anybody can play it, but it's still fun for hardcore gamers.
Yeah, I wouldn't classify it as entry level just because there's.
I mean, entry hobby level.
I mean, yeah, it's closer to that, but it's just, I think like because there are so many good nowadays, really good entry level games, like all those like IP, those like licensed games they have now from like Ravensburger and
yes, but like
games.
I'm thinking of like you want to take this game to sell it at one of your book fairs you go to.
Yeah. It's a broader audience. Yeah,
it's a wide audience appeal, and that's kind of what we're going for.
We should mock up a box of that, by the way, because next week on Saturday I have that library event. I'd like to have a mock up box of that. You know, we should do that.
No.
Yeah, we should print that up and mock it up. Make that happen.
Nah.
That's a good project for you. You have nothing going on.
Anyway, yeah, so the game is the Mouse Light Adventures project is going well. I think that with the holidays coming up and, you know, we're still waiting on demo kits, we're looking at early next year for the Game Found probably. But one of the big factors is going to be the follower count. We need to make sure that we have a good follower count because these days you kind of have to fund on the first day, like if you want to make an impact, because people just don't want to hop on a campaign that's struggling. They want to be, I want to jump on this thing that's doing well.
Yeah, there's probably people who have different perceptions of this. Like if you're not a creator and you're just like a backer, you're just a consumer, you might not think much about like, you know, funding numbers, like the funding level, like what the total they need to fund is, because that can be illusionary in a lot of ways. And people are, I think, pretty aware nowadays that low funding levels are meant to be something that drive like early funding. Like, oh, if they have a low funding level, they'll probably fund on day one. That looks good.
Also to say like 800% funded, like they want that.
But aside, like we don't want to go that route. Obviously, we want to be as transparent as we can with this company right out of the gate. So we're going to have a pretty like realistic funding goal. But to compensate for that, we want to make sure that our follower count is realistic, that we could potentially fund, right when we launch, because that is important, not just to us for the excitement and everything, but it's also just like any platform is going to want successful campaigns. So they want to set you up for success. So I don't think it's like revealing too much behind the curtain to say that like, hey, we're going to have, this much money we need to fund, and we're going to be pretty realistic about that. It's not going to be an illusionary, like a low number, but.
And unfortunately, with the way it is too, with people that follow games, it's so easy to follow. The conversion rate is actually pretty low. Like I'm talking like 15 to 20%.
20% is good. Yeah. 20% would be good.
But like you can't just assume that everybody following is going to back. So it's like it has to have a pretty substantial follower count to be, set up for success. So that's something to consider. But regardless, I think we're on track to launch the campaign early next year. Hopefully after the holidays. And one of the big benefits of this campaign is it's not going to be a huge investment for people. We're talking like under $100 for the game. So pretty reasonable.
It'd be nice if we could at least before the holidays hit, like get a lot of those demo copies out to people, to get people talking and seeing gameplay, and that way like that'll hopefully help boost the follower count. We can have more previews and stuff leading up to the launch early, because it'd be great to like hit the launch like right at the new year, and when everyone's ready for something new.
I will say, I'm not sure we mentioned this last time, but we have been working with a new artist.
We mentioned Ellie. Yeah.
Ellie, she's been working on item art, and she actually just finished up all the rough concepts for all of those. The demo kit might actually have rough color pieces for the item art because the time involved. But if she has any finished finals, we're going to try to get those in the demo kit before we print them. But we'll see how that lines up schedule wise.
Yeah, they're looking great.
Like we said, we're still waiting on tile art, so we have some time. But hopefully we get those demo kits printed and out to reviewers before, maybe in November. I don't know. Mid-November. We'll see.
I would like to mention our project with Robert, but I don't know if we want to get too in depth, but it'd be fun to talk about. But I guess we'll save that because Adam's very picky about what we talk about.
I just don't like to lock ourselves into something that's kind of initial stage.
Yeah,
it might turn into something. It might not. Who knows? We'll see.
I want to have stuff to chat about on this podcast about stuff we're planning, but it's like it's hard because, like I said, we want to be transparent, talk about like what we want to do, but at the same time, we'd rather have things to show. And also we want to keep the focus on our first project. The Mouse Light Adventures is like the first project. So,
and I will say this isn't too much of a. Last time we talked about, we were in the middle of finalizing a deal to get the rights back to some of our old games, and we haven't like actually talked about what those are yet. But one of the possibilities is that right when Malice of Light Adventures delivers, like assuming it funds and delivers, we could potentially just go straight into a crowdfunding campaign to reprint one of our old games under our label company.
Yeah. The only downside being is like
it's not new.
Not that. It's just like having Mouse Light delivered first before, like fulfilled before.
Right. I mean that's a given. We're gonna be fulfilling Mouse Light Adventures before we start funding anything else. Like that's just the way we're gonna do it. Because again, we're not doing this full time. This is just something we're doing on the side. We have day jobs. I'm not sure. Did you want to mention your
day job situation? I did. Yes. I mean, we already talked about like what's been going on, but like I actually am transitioning jobs. I just got a new job, so I'll be still in the same industry. I'm still going to be working in corporate travel, but I'll be with a new company. Exciting opportunity. They gave me a pretty good signing bonus, so it's very exciting. But yeah, that's going to be my new my new day job. So it's going to afford me.
Maybe Brady can pay me back for the money I put into the company.
Well, no, I got. Speaking of, I think we've also talked about like I'm doing another design outside of. Well, I guess it's I'm doing a design not as the Sadler Brothers. I'm helping with another project, so that'll help bring some more money in. And I'm still doing art descriptions for GameCubator, which is I don't think I've talked about that, but if you haven't checked out GameCubator, which is it's game and then capital Q Bader. Which sounds fun. It's like incubator. It's GameCubator, but they do this game called MetaZoo, and I've been working with them on doing art descriptions for these. It's kind of like Pokemon in a way where it's like these casters have these like spell books, and they capture cryptids in these spell books, and they like release them to fight. So it's kind of this Pokemon feel, but it's a card game, and it's apparently pretty popular. People like it. So
I'll also mention that we had an interesting opportunity pop up that was completely unexpected, but I won't get into details about it until we know more about it. But a very, very well-known publisher reached out to us with the
which one? There's been so many publishers.
Well, I know, but the idea of us designing a game for them, which would be interesting because it'd be the first time Twin Tail Studios would do a game design for another publisher, because that's something when we started this company, we definitely wanted to keep that in mind, because we want to do our own games. But we also want to keep the opportunity open where we could design games for other publishers through the entity of Twin Tail Studios. So
that way we could get some more capital to do our own projects a little more successfully. So.
Those projects would not only like expand our brand and collaborate with other publishers, but also bring in more income for the company so we can fund more of our stuff, more of our projects. So that's something that I wanted to mention, because if it becomes a thing, it'd be kind of cool. You heard it here first. So we'll see how that develops, but we'll share news when we can if that progresses to anything else. But
yeah, I guess
it's exciting.
Yeah, and aside from that, the other studio news, which is kind of going into our first project, we mentioned before that the project's going to be Malice Light Adventures, the box game, hopefully just one box, maybe like a supplementary. Like we'll see, but
no, just one box.
Hold everything, and then a box set of the books, the first 3 books in the series, the Malice of Light series, the Acrid Sky, the Withered Roots, and then the one that I'm finishing up right now, which is the Smoldering Vein. And I mentioned that because this has been one of the weirdest books I've ever written. It happens to be the 5th book I've written this year, which seems absurd. I don't think I'll ever try to do this again in a given year. Try to write this many books. I mean, I will say the first one was the Relic Myers one, and that one was like an easy one to write for me. The second 2 were those smaller ones, so they were like shorter books. But Ransom Creek we did, that was I guess I had a second helper with that, so it's kind of half of a book in a way. But then this one's been rough. I don't think I'm gonna have a problem finishing it, but my editor, who's doing a kind of another a re-edit of the first 2 books in the series, to kind of like, because he's a new editor I'm working with, and I wanted to make sure he was totally up to speed on the Malice Light books 1 and 2. So he's finished book 1 edits. He's sent those to me. Book 2, he's almost done. He's going to be done by the 20th, he said. So I'm hoping to have the manuscript for book 3 done before the end of this month. But yeah, regardless, it's going to be done on time. It's just like I'm supposed to be starting chapter 20 today. So usually my books kind of average to like 30, 32 chapters. So getting close to
just write smaller books, you'll be done. You'll be done by now.
Yeah. Well, it's about wrapping up some storylines, because this is like the halfway point. Like this is the first 3 books of a 6-book series, so it's got to have I think it's got to have a kind of a decent, resolution for a lot of things, but also a cool cliffhanger for the next 3 books. So that's most of what's been going on for Twin Tail Studios. Do we have any listener questions? I forget.
Also, yeah, we do. I just wanted to give another quick shout out to our playtesters. Thanks again for all the playtesting you've been doing. You guys really helped accelerate the development of this game, and it's in a really good place now. It's like I said, it's just polish and balance and everything. So thanks a lot for your help, and hopefully you stick around for helping us playtest more games in the future. So we have some podcast questions, actually probably quite a bit, because I've been checking these off as we do them. Earthborn Ranger, actually that's not a question. Oh yeah, there was a question. Zeke posted, Earthborn Rangers recently released some official soundtracks that added atmosphere to their game. It reminded me of that video that got me to back Street Masters. Had an awesome Street Masters theme, linked below in the Discord if anybody wants to check it out. But this is basically the Aftershock theme song that we commissioned for the Aftershock campaign.
The one that I had to like track that guy down he did the soundtrack for the mobile implementation of Sentinels of the Multiverse, the card game, because it was a very cool, like, I was like, hey, yeah, that's a cool, like, retro, like, cartoon theme song vibe. I want one of those for our game.
That song really sold on the vibe of the game and got me wondering if maybe there are any plans for some tie-in music for your games.
Man, this is perfect opportunity to talk about Rob too.
I mean, we can. I don't want to set things up for disappointment if something doesn't work out. Like,
no, I mean, I'm not like
schedule and
stuff.
It's
not talking about promises. It's more just like I think.
Yeah, well, you can go ahead and mention it.
So we anyone who knows me, especially on social media, knows that I have this like really sick obsession with Game Boy.
He won't shut up about it.
I've always had like this weird obsession with like handheld gaming, portable gaming. And when I was growing up, I had every type of Game Boy, and I always regretted getting rid of them because I'd always swap them out for the newer ones. But there was this Mod Retro Chromatic recently that I found that has like a backlit Game Boy Color, like a metal, like top of the line recreation of a Game Boy. So I've been obsessed with playing those. But doing that, I found out this program called GB Studio, which is a game design software that's made specifically for Game Boy games. And there's a pretty active community of these like Game Boy game developers, and there's a pretty decent demand for this. So I've been kind of like falling in this rabbit hole lately. But I found this guy, really cool dude named Robert Doman, and he runs a YouTube channel. He's done several games. One of his most recent ones was Island Fever, which I missed the pre-order for the physical copy. I want to get one eventually, but you can get it like online, like, download it. But anyway, we reached out to Robert because I had this crazy idea I was nagging at him about, where it's like, I want to make a Relic Myers game because like Relic Myers is in the 90s, late 90s, right in that time when like, Game Boy Color was out, is almost going to switch over to Game Boy Advance. But like there's references to Game Boy in the books. And I thought it'd be cool to have like this little Relic Myers Game Boy game, because it would be so fitting, but I just didn't have the time to do it. But I randomly pitched the idea to Robert Doman, and he seemed really intrigued. So we haven't like started anything official yet. We've been kind of chatting about ideas, but he actually does his own music, his own animations for all his games. He does like chiptune music. So he was like really excited about this opportunity, because there's like Relic Myers has the retro stuff. It's got like this cool horror theme, and it's got all the music, So we're pretty excited about that discussion. We'll see where it goes, but yeah, that's one thing we're gonna hopefully do. Like we have a lot of ideas for, like, I guess they call it transmedia stuff, with these properties we're building.
Ironically, also, like a few months ago, I was pretty deep into game development. Like I was learning Unreal, Godot, and stuff like that. I was having a blast with it too, but it was taking up all my time. But then Brady wanted to start a board game publishing company, and so
this was your idea.
Took all my time out of that. So I could have been working on that game with you, like, right away, but we got a board game to make now. So thanks for that.
Yeah, but we'll share news when that's actually a thing. But there's a peek behind the curtain. If you listen to the podcast, you can kind of
Yes, we would love to publish all kinds of games, board games, video games. We'd love to do it all. So we'll see what we can manage. Zeke also asked, looking at the Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor, and it got me thinking. I know you wanted minimal miniatures for the campaign. This is about Mouse Light Adventures. Would you consider going with acrylic standees for the minions? I'm not sure what the cost is. Just thought they looked great. I will say that we haven't revealed this. Anybody who looks at the Game Found page will probably see some little tokens for the miniatures and like that. So we haven't really talked about what's in the game yet, but we will definitely get into that as we don't want to explain show everything for the game yet, but we have some plans. So I'll just leave it at that.
And to answer that specifically, though, I think it's safe to say that like our preferences typically would be like one or the other. I don't think we wouldn't want to like have a game that had like miniatures and then like standees.
The thing is,
it's possible, but it's like we didn't like how Gloomhaven did that. Like I know some people were fine with that, and it's good for a utility standpoint because it has the numbers and the standees and stuff. But it's not necessarily ideal. And I do like the look of acrylic standees, but I would prefer if it was like they were all standees.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do really like acrylic standees. Like there's a game called League of Dungeoneers that is a standee game. It's kind of like a dungeon crawling, like a big RPG dungeon crawl game, but he released some acrylic standees for like a huge set of acrylic standees and for the monsters, and it was really cool because it had front and back art for the. But again, that's more art costs. Like It's funny because as we're getting quotes, like miniatures, they do add costs because of like the molds and stuff like that. But as far as the per unit cost is not that much different than like acrylic standees. So like. We're trying to keep the game as affordable as possible, but like Brady said, if we did standees, we'd probably just do all standees. And also with this game, the miniatures are represented with cards as well. So like there's kind of a focus of the cards are like what represent the miniature, like represent what the enemy is. But again, we'll get more into that as we reveal more about the game. Not to like blow off these questions, but I just don't want to reveal too much just yet.
You hear that buzzing? Is that coming in? But is it coming? Because hopefully it's not picking up in the mic.
I don't hear it in my
if you hear like water running, it's because I think that somebody flushed a toilet somewhere nearby.
There's some conversation in the questions about standees and stuff like that, so I'm going to skip ahead.
You can join our Discord and join the conversations.
Someone asked where they got minis for the Bystanders in Hour of Need from the Kickstarter, so that's another thing.
They had effects too. They weren't just aesthetic replacements. You could also add effects to the game.
Finally got through all the discussion. So there's a question here. Ken Changar, if someone asks you to do an MDS game with a heavy metal theme, would you do it? And heavy metal is capitalized, so I think they mean that old comic book. Or
I responded jokingly in there, but I think it might be the IP heavy metal, which honestly it might sound like heretical me saying this, but I never really cared much. I mean, I watched the heavy metal thing. I think I saw parts of the animated thing, but it never really did it for me. Like, I mean, I like heavy metal music, but not. It's just
that's the weird thing. I grew up like we grew up obsessed with heavy metal, like for our late teenage years, early 20s, stuff like that. Like that was kind of like our whole life. But nowadays, I don't have much of a connection to heavy metal anymore. Like I still listen to like Megadeth and Metallica and Pantera and stuff like that occasionally on my Apple Music mix. But I'm not like into that. Like Relic Myers is pretty much the extent of my heavy metal. Like,
well, I was gonna say, like to me, like Relic Myers is a very niche like exploration of like my own view of like. Well, I guess like my own
experience.
Because like the broader heavy metal, because like in my mind that the heavy metal magazine, that's not reflective of what I like about heavy metal necessarily. It's more like kind of this. It's almost like not absurdist, but it's almost like this kind of. Almost like unfamiliar look of the genre, like a really broad look of the genre, where it's like if someone thinks of heavy metal, they think like
Manowar.
Yeah, it's like that kind of like superficial. So I don't want to like say anything negative about it because it's just not something I associate with. But like so not the IP, but for the genre, like I definitely want to do something. I wrote a book about how much I loved heavy metal. So
well, I should also mention that like he specifically asked, or they, I don't know who Ken Chenger, sorry, but they asked if somebody asked you an MDS game. I don't think we would really do like MDS anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't be labeled MDS because that was something that was with Blacklist. But like the way we do our games, we like modularity. We like quick setup, and so it's always going to fall into that kind of category. But I don't think we're going to strictly have this whole like 3-deck structure all the time.
I think like even the most recent iteration, well, second most recent, like whatever it was, the like Hour of Need, like
that was probably the pinnacle of it.
I know, but even that, like it doesn't really, in my mind, it doesn't really necessarily follow that whole MDS format. You know, it has a lot of those elements, but it's not like Street Masters in the same way. So, that was the problem with that. I think I suggested that originally just because it was like a catch-all term. Like, oh, just since we always have these like, you know, make your own scenario games where you use decks, let's call it something. And I think that was a mistake because it implies it has to follow these certain standards or whatever. So yeah, like I think in short, I don't think we'll ever design quote unquote an MDS game because we probably won't call it that. You know,
we definitely wouldn't call it that.
Yeah, we wouldn't have like that terminology. But if he's asking that in the sense like, hey, would you design a Sadler game that's heavy metal inspired? Like, yes, if it's like, you know, heavy, like Relic Myers heavy metal, but probably not that IP. Like if we were like contacted, hey, some publisher wants you to make a heavy metal game and again, based on this license.
And again, I'm just assuming that because it was capitalized. Yeah. I don't even know if that's what they meant. But
I wouldn't have thought of that until you mentioned it, and I was like, oh, it's a good point because a lot of people like that IP. So,
all right. The next question is from Derek. What would each of your 3 to 5 forever games be? I'm assuming this means games you would never sell, games you would always want to play.
Oh, and list out our 3 or 5 of them.
3 to 5. I think for me, I can easily think of number one. I can not number one, but an easy one for me to think of that I always play would be Marvel United. Like that game is, I don't play it all the time, but it's one that I would always play. Like it's just one that I would always play. It's fun, quick to set up.
I'm assuming this is probably only tabletop games, right? Like this is.
I mean, it doesn't say. It just says.
I'll say tabletop games.
Forever games.
I'll just keep it tabletop games because video games could be a different discussion. But
we could do both. We could do ideas for both. So we'll just to be safe, we'll just do do a few board games and then a few.
So you did the Marvel United. I would do that too, but I'll pick a different one just to keep it interesting. I would say it's kind of new, but like I would say Regicide Legacy because Regicide's a very simplistic. It's a game you can just carry in a deck of cards. You can have in your back pocket and just play it wherever you want. Very simple game. Plays good solo and co-op. So I think I always have to have a copy of that, and you could play it with a standard deck of cards too. So it's super easy.
Oh man, this is tough because there's a lot of games that I like. I love the idea of playing, but I just don't play them.
Yeah, I think you have to think of the ones you'd want to play more often. Like that's what you lean toward. Like some games I keep on the shelf because like I like the product, but I just don't necessarily play them. But I think I have another one too. Like I think the one that I would list as one that I couldn't get rid of and I would always play is that was on the tip of my tongue. I had it in my head. What was I going to say?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, Death May Die. I was thinking Death May Die is because I have a lot of that, but it's like I will always play that game and I love it. I don't think I'd ever get rid of it.
This is a weird one because I mentioned this game so many times, but it's hard for me to escape. And that, like the original 1995 Warhammer Quest, mainly because I've bought that on eBay multiple times and sold it, and always regretted it every time. So I finally bought a copy on eBay. It was like almost an unpunched copy, and I have it on my shelf. And I've told myself I'm never going to sell this ever. But man, I can always just, if I'm bored, I can pull out that roleplay book and just look through it. And it has that weird, like, 90s game store smell in the binding. Like, it still has that smell
Stinky.
to it. No, it's so nostalgic smelling, but like, I don't know. That's a forever game just because I will always want to keep it in my collection. And I still like to play it by myself, you know, when it's a solo game for me. It's not really a party game anymore. So
it's weird because one that I would think of, and there's been a weird story in this one because Defenders of the Realm is like solely responsible, I think, for like ever making me want to design a game. Because like when I got that game, I had not stopped playing it. I played it all the time. I would always set it up, play it alone. We played a lot of it, and like it was just great. But I had like a lot of issues with the production of it, and there were some like little things with the event cards I didn't like. So I hate that I got rid of it because I had the whole collection with I had all the painted figures, I had everything. But when we moved one time, I sold like half my collection just because I didn't want to move it, And I also thought in my head, it's like, well, I talked to Richard all the time. He said they're going to make a new edition of this, but that's been postponed so many times. So it's like, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. So like, hopefully it does, because I'd love to get that again. But I think I have to include that just because of like how impactful it was. So like, I don't own it right now, but I would get it again.
I still remember when I was living in Minnesota in that really crappy apartment when I was working at Fantasy Flight Games, and I had like no furniture, but I had like one little table in the middle of my living room, and you'd bring that over because you lived in the same apartment complex, and you'd come over in your pajamas and we'd bust that out and play it all night trying to beat it. Like that was
an obsession, man.
Yeah, that was just couldn't stop playing until we beat it. But that's definitely a memory I have of that game.
It's a good puzzle, yeah, and it's like it's got a lot of Pandemic DNA in it. So like, kind of like Pandemic's kind of included in that, but because it's a fantasy theme, it obviously always won over. I would always pick that over Pandemic.
I honestly think I would put Blitzball in this list because that is a game I would always play. Like that, I don't ever get to play it very often, but like every time I do, it's just so fun. It's like you get that Blood Bowl feel, but in a much shorter time frame, and it's interesting decisions. It's probably one of the top competitive games I ever feel like playing. So I think that would be up there as one of my forever games.
We do video games now.
Are you out of them?
I could do more. I just thought it was the top 3. I thought it was like 3. You said 3 to 5, right?
Yeah, that's probably fine.
If it's I mean, I like video game or board game wise. I have a lot that I like, but I just can't think of ones that I would rank up because like so many games have cycled out of my collection. I just can't think of ones that have to stick around.
One of the downsides I feel like of tabletop games these days is the lifespan of them. Like it seems like there's always the next hype the thing to be hyped about.
Yeah. I was gonna say Iridia was the one I was thinking of. I think, when I said
that one's a forever one as far as like my experience with it. But like it's not
hard. It's hard to keep playing because it's not like it doesn't have like a repeatable aspect. I mean,
that's actually one that we should talk about in today's topic with narrative, because how much we have time left to talk about.
It's 41 minutes in right now, but we're wrapping up the questions.
So a couple video games. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. It used to be Blaster Master, but like ever since Blaster Master Zero came out, Blaster Master Zero, and it became a trilogy. So it's Blaster Master Zero, 1, 2, and 3. That trilogy, I'll count them as like one game because they all follow the same formula. But if I had to pick one, it'd just be the Blaster Master Zero, the first one. Fantastic game. It's an amazing reimplementation of a spiritual successor to the original game. But that game, I've beat it like hundreds of times, and I'll always play it again just because it's like it's a comfort food for me.
The Mega Man games. Mega Man, I could always go back to play those.
All of them though?
Not all of them.
I was gonna say some of them like
two to 5, 2 to 6. I think are for me. I never got into the Mega Man X stuff. I know they're good games, but I just grew up playing Mega Man 2 through 6. And I have the collection on my Switch, and that's one of the games I just popped in when I was like, I'm gonna play some old games here, and I just busted out Mega Man 2, and it's still fun. That's just one I'll always have fun playing. But
I wish I could put one of the Resident Evils on here, but like honestly, as much as I love that franchise, like there's
Resident Evil 2 is still fun.
It's still like it's one of those games I'll if I go back to, I'll easily get sucked back into, but I don't get driven to go back and revisit it that often. So
I honestly don't have a lot of video games these days because I like them, but again, they're like there's a board game issue where like a lot of the games I like are live service games and they have a lifespan.
Yeah. I think after this year though, like after this 3-month period, I'll probably always have a Pokemon on this list because like I've just gotten so consumed by Pokemon Crystal that it's like I'm like
I think it's a phase. I know you. I think it's a phase.
The thing is, I've only ever really been part of Pokemon from Red and Blue. And then just recently with the like a few years ago when Sword and Shield, or actually 5 years ago when Sword and Shield came out. So this is the first time I've really dug into it, and it's like it just got its hooks in me, man. So
I know you. I think
we'll see.
I think it's a phase.
Like I'd be glad to because it's been sucking up too much of my time. I need to write books.
Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Link's Awakening are both ones that I can always go back to and play through again. Those are always fun.
Link to the Past is not as powerful to me as Link's Awakening, only because of when out in middle school, I had a copy of Link's Awakening, and I would play that in the bathroom stalls.
The remake on the Switch is great. I love it.
I have that. I haven't played the Switch. I just played.
You haven't played it?
I have it. I haven't replayed it in a while. I played it when I first got it.
It was overpriced, but it's really good.
Yeah. It has that chibi style. That's the same art style that those Pokemon Shining Pearl or whatever it is, that they look like that, essentially like chibi art style.
I know I'm forgetting lots of video games on this list because there's so many games I love.
Yeah, the only one I can think of is Blaster Master because I keep playing that all the time. Whenever I get bored, I just pop it open. It's on for Switch. It's for Xbox. I got it.
But I know there are like beat 'em up games like Knights of the Round that I'll always go back and play that. Like Shock Troopers is fun. Like
any Castlevania for Game Boy Advance, those were all amazing. Those were masterpieces.
I'm so looking forward to that Marvel Cosmic Invasion game. I want to play a game like that right now.
Well, we could talk about story in games and keep it short because it's 45 minutes into the episode, which we can go as long as we want. But
we'll chat about it. I don't think it'll go on too long about it. But I think I talked about this last time where I was considering buying Oathsworn. I think I did talk about that last time.
Might have been. Yeah, I think it came up.
Has it been 2 weeks? Jeez, since I bought that.
You got it last week, right?
Wow. Okay. Well, I ended up. I don't know, but we ended up. I learned it when I got it, and we played a little learning game of it. And I gotta say, it's okay. Like it hasn't sucked me in yet, which is a little disappointing considering how much I spent on it, and also how fantastic the reviews are. Like overwhelmingly, people are saying like it's the best game ever, and I just don't understand.
It makes me feel a little out of touch because this is like the first time it's happened where, like, I look into a game that people keep raving about, and it's usually from a solo standpoint, like a solo or co-op, like a solo or low player count co-op standpoint.
Maybe if I was playing this game solo, I might feel differently. But when we were playing it, there wasn't a ton of interaction.
Yeah.
Especially because the game is broken up into the story phase and then the encounter phase. The story phase, I feel like, is so long and pointless.
I will go out on a limb. I've only played it once, but I will say that I hate the story.
Okay, yeah. So I don't like it at all. I was using the app because I did not want to read through all this stuff because it's literally like a choose your own adventure thing. But you have this map of the city and you have like little numbers of areas to go to, and you have a choice to go there. You read this little thing, make a choice.
Not little.
Oh yeah, you listen to this blurb. It's very well voice act. Like it's narrated by the guy who played the bear on Game of Thrones. I honestly can't think of his name. It's John Corbin. I don't know. I don't want to say his name wrong, but I just did. But anyway,
but I will anyway.
you go through the city. You do this little narrative about why you're going to go fight this big boss, and you read a blurb. You make a choice. You get a token. That's pretty much all it is, and you just get a collection of tokens, and then you go fight the boss. Does not feel necessary. It doesn't feel like it adds anything to the game to me.
Yeah.
And I do love story. Like I love movies. I don't read books as much as I should, but I do enjoy reading books. But I like story. But I don't want to sit at a table and listen to a story. Like when I'm playing a game, even when I'm playing video games, I don't want to watch cinematics and listen to dialogue. I just want to play the game.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the most oxymoronic people, or like what's the word where it's like you're a conundrum.
You're a moron.
I'm one of the most moronic people. There's like a word when you're like
conundrum.
Yeah, but there's a word also like it's like more you're
stupid.
You're stupid. But because like I even more than you probably love story. I think of story all day. I write stories. I only write 5 books a year, but I want to write 20 because I have all these ideas, and I like story a lot. However, I almost borderline hate story in my games. I like story that I can discover. Like I think Iridia does an amazing job of this because Iridia
I'm gonna get into that.
because they have little card nuggets, like just tiny little sentences, and you just go off of that, and you can like fill in the blanks yourself. I don't want to sit there and read a huge because I think
the rain
a lot of
is
people,
falling and your boots are sloshing in the mud. And you come to the gates,
and I don't want to like demean anybody who enjoys writing this content, but I get the impression that most of this content is written by people who don't necessarily write often enough to know how to hold back. It's like almost like they want to show off, like I can write, and they want to paint this like word salad.
I think what it is them trying to create, like, people have different levels of imagination, and so they're trying to paint a very vivid picture of what they want the environment, like want this game to encompass. Because a lot of people just maybe they don't have the same kind of creative like working brains where they can create this environment in their minds or whatever from a game. So it's like you kind of just spell it out for them, and that's not a criticism at all. It's just something where it doesn't work on me. And honestly, when I'm playing a game like that with the people at the table, I just feel like people are bored. Yeah. I'm like,
there's no good way to feel like to do that in a group setting unless everyone's kind of like putting on a show of like being attentive, because I don't think anybody comes to a tabletop session to like sit and listen to a narrative, you know.
Yeah,
like
usually when we get our game nights going, it's because people want to get together and chat and like roll some dice and do some, you know,
be
cool
interactive,
stuff.
not being passive. Because like listening to story can be very passive. Like watching a movie can be very passive. When I sit down to play a game, it's not to like watch a movie, like watch a cutscene. I sit down to play a game to be interactive, to actively do things. And I think like, I don't know, like maybe there's a whole different thought process behind this, because like we're pretty similar in this regard, but maybe there's people out there who literally like they get a box and they see like a book this thick of like story encounters they want to go through, and it's like really exciting to them. I don't know, like
I know people are like that, because my wife is like that with video games. She wants to watch the cutscenes, and like with Baldur's Gate 3, like she wanted to go through and talk to every single person, and in co-op I just couldn't do it. Like we can't play together because I can't sit here and listen to this.
Yeah. And it's weird because there are some like I think Diablo 2 is a good example too. Like you can play through that.
Diablo 2?
What's the sorry, no,
4?
Diablo 4. Like I don't know why I was thinking 2. I was thinking of some other game, but in Diablo 4, when you go do like a quest, you can like turn it in and then run away and do something. You hear like the exposition talking over what you're doing, so you're staying active. So
that's how a lot of like Borderlands games are. But like just sitting there and being forced to listen to something, I don't feel like I have an attention problem where I can sit attentively and, you know, watch a movie. I can watch 6 movies in a row, you know, and just sit there, not be on my phone and just watch movies. I can soak things in. But with tabletop games or with games in general, that's not what I'm there for.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me with that game, with Oathsworn, for example, when half of the game is like just listening to stuff and then you get to go fight. But even they have this instant action mode where it's like, okay, well, you just want to do the encounter, but they still have this huge page full of this text that you have to read through and like make choices still. So it's kind of like just getting rid of the travel part of the city, but you're still going through these blocks of text, which to me, I just want the encounter part of that game. Like, I don't care about why we're fighting this monster. Just give me like, oh, this monster invaded the city. Go defeat it. There's your game right there. And
because when you think about it too, like, because another game I think of when I think of like Flavor, it's a game I love, and I really respect all the work put into this game because it's like a very well designed game. But Arkham Horror, the card game, there's a lot of story, and a lot of like certain expansions have like so much story to read through. And there are times when you're playing the game, you have your hand of cards, and you have to stop to go check the story. You put your cards down, you like stop the game and read this like big exposition, and it's just like, to me, that doesn't connect. You know, when I'm playing Defenders of the Realm, like that let's say Arkham Horror, I'm experiencing a story that's like laid out for me, very linear. There's like a little options I can take. But if I'm playing Defenders of the Realm and I'm like just reading a little like one sentence event cards and I'm going through that, to me, for me personally, is going to tell a much more customized interactive story than this other game that's already laid out for me, you know. So it's like, that's where I get my story.
Yeah, I think that's also true of the way we play games, because usually if we're playing, like, for example, when we play Marvel United, like, there's like nothing in that game that's narrative, but like, you know, you just do something in the game, like, oh yeah, Cyclops just come here and kick that guy over there, and we would just like make up our own little anecdote about what happened in our own little way, just because I guess we can visualize that.
Yeah,
and
it's also just like the contextual like elements of what happened. It's like, it's just, to me, that's the beauty of gaming. That's the beauty of interactive storytelling, not just reading each other excerpts that are like somebody, because like when I said that before about somebody who may not like write enough on their own time, they're using this to like showcase their writing, like that's fine, but like, I don't know, I think there's just a better way to do that.
Yeah,
you know?
I will say let's go to Iridia, because Iridia is an example of narrative in game that I absolutely love. Like, the way it's done in Iridia is fantastic. There's, at most, you're reading a card of text. Like, here's a little blurb of text about this, you know, introduction of the game, and it's like a card. It's not a lot at all. But also, so many interesting things happen in that game with like little tiny blurbs of text, and it's not just like sitting there, you know, reading and listening. You're doing things. You're actively doing things in the game. You're to ask an NPC question, they give you an answer. But you're kind of involved in the story. You're not just sitting there and listening to the story, and that's way more interesting to me. And it's also way more memorable. Like,
yeah, I think if we take one thing away from like all of these points, is like, I think, like, at least personally, the smaller, more concise, like having more small, concise story happenings, like put together in different ways is much more of a compelling narrative than one that's like spelled out like on a big, huge, rule book spread where it's like
even an Hour of Need, when you had those little elements of like things happening, like once this scheme card is resolved, read this little blurb of text. Even that's too much, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
that's something too where like it wasn't ideal, but I just wanted to avoid more cards.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that we're beating a dead horse where, I think we've mentioned this before, where we're just not the biggest fans of like excessive narrative in games, and that's not because we don't like narrative.
Yeah,
it's just the way you can you can implement it. I don't know, you can integrate it into the game better than just having pages and pages of text that you read.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like actual narrative, because like story could be defined so many different ways. Like we tell a story about the games we're doing, but like narrative is like written excerpts. Like in that case, almost always, like I think always, flatly always, less is more. Like always go for less. Always try to fit less.
Honestly, I'm a little worried about Lands of Evershade in regards to that, because I don't.
That's something too, where like that could be a different beast altogether. It depends on how, because like I view a lot of that stuff like if it can be done outside of the game, that's great, because it has like a role-playing vibe. And with role-playing games, it's like you kind of, especially like a dungeon master, you have like all this lore to read through or to study. So like I appreciate that, but it's not done at the table. It's not done. It's done collaboratively, not like somebody reading one person a thing.
That will also, just not to like hammer on this game too much, because I still want to play it with our game group. But Oathsworn has something that I really, really dislike. It has these might decks, kind of like Gloomhaven's decks, where they have might dice and they have might decks. And they specifically say you can use whatever you want. But if you want a good tight balance for the enemies, you should always use the might deck for the enemies. But we were playing just the first fight with these like giant rats. And like when they're attacking, like they're all attacking once, you have to draw all these little might cards. It's so fiddly and like not fun. But like if you just roll a handful of dice, that's fine. Why do they have these decks? Like I don't care about the balance of it. It's just not fun to do.
It's almost like they were just trying to like capture what people liked about Gloomhaven or something.
Well, I think they were trying to get that balance of like modifiers, stuff like that. So you have that randomness, but it's still more of a well distributed randomness. However, the issue is that if there's dice and there's the cards, you can choose what you use, but there are effects that reshuffle the might deck that are basically useless if you're just using dice. So it's like you have a choice, but it's also not the full experience that the game is offering, and that kind of bothers me. And also they have 2 trays of these things, one for the heroes and one for the enemies. It just takes up even more space in the box, and it's like I don't want them. I'll just use the dice.
That had me thinking about that one game too. We haven't played in a while, Agamonia. Because that one was so close, because it did a lot of good things about the story, but it still had those like big excerpts before, after, which is like, that's a little better because it's not part of the gameplay. It's like it's optional almost. But I like how during the gameplay, all of those little like story happenings would be just cards coming out. You read a little line, and then it changes the board or something. And there's easy ways to implement that stuff, but it's like when it comes to actual narrative, less.
I think also we just like games that play in a reasonable amount of time too. Like because Oathsworn, if you're playing both the story and the encounter, it's like 3 hours or something. It's like we don't need it to be 3 hours. Like it's a boss fight. Let's just fight the boss and have some fun.
Yeah, there's another example too. Like I haven't played it, but I kept hearing reviews about this game called My Father's Work, which was like a Euro game where you play as like these kind of like Frankenstein style characters, and you're trying to build your own monster, whatever. But apparently, like there was this book of stories, and every time you would do certain things in the game, you would like have to stop and read like 2 pages of like this narrative, and like it was so disconnected to like what the actual game was doing, So it's like it was just there because somebody wanted to have their story read aloud, It's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And I haven't played that one. I'm not saying from personal experience. It's more just like that's another example where I feel like it just can be overdone. Like just less is more. Like less. Go read a book outside of gameplay. And
that's also one of the drawbacks to the Frosthaven. We were playing Frosthaven, and like every time we did a scenario, there was just so much to read before the scenario, and I'm like, do you guys want me to read this? Like, and Mitch and Rob are like, yeah, as long as I'm into that. But it doesn't feel like it when I'm reading it. It just feels like I'm boring the crap out of people.
And some people have fun with the dramatic narrations and stuff, and it's fine. Every group has their own dynamics. So if that's what they want, great. But I think people can just safely assume that like we're publishing books separately for a reason. So
It's just weird though, because when you played Iridia, it was really fun to read the NPC cards. Like, it's fun because they're like little blurbs. And,
that was really well done. Yeah,
you ask a question, you give a quick response.
Cool. That's our thoughts on story. Speaking of story, you're not reading any books, but I think I've mentioned last.
I was reading the instruction booklet for that Oracle of Ages,
the one that hasn't come in yet. I'm waiting for that one. It's supposed to come tomorrow. I was reading that Dream Theater book I got, and I think I might have mentioned this book when I ordered it. It was the Scenes from a Memory, or Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory, which is the novelization of the Dream Theater album. I'm a huge fan of that album. What's weird to me though is the album was based loosely on a movie. I think Mike Portnoy saw a movie, I forget what it was called, but he like based the story on that movie, and now there's a novelization of the story, so it's almost like a fan fiction of that movie in a way. But yeah, like I haven't finished reading it yet. It's a cool concept, but I forget the author, but the author's a musician. He's a singer for some bands. Been reading that, and I also picked up an Ed Gein book that was highly recommended. It was called What Did Bobby Gein Do? Or something. It's supposed to be the best like researched account of what happened to Ed Gein. And of course, it's because I watched that monster show, which I'm left feeling like about it, except for like Charlie's performance, amazing. Like some amazing acting, but the show itself, I'm like, It's okay. I'd prefer if Ryan Murphy did it, but I'd like to see what he would do with it.
No, nothing reading on my end.
The Substance was cool though. It was long, a bit long, but it was pretty cool.
Was interesting. Like I said, I felt like it was like, what do you call it, like an art house movie or something,
very much like a art student or film student.
I feel like they could have told the story in a little shorter time, but
it could have been more concise, and
it could have been like a short movie.
They just had to fit all those booty shots in there.
There was a lot of female body exploration. It seemed.
Yeah, that's what you get with body horror. I watched that movie, and then I watched The New Naked Gun, which was pretty fun.
I still haven't seen that. It's on Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus, yeah.
I don't have Paramount Plus.
Yeah. It's not something I would be like, you have to go see this, but it's like, it's good to know that like they at least carried the tradition on and everything, and it was pretty fun.
I was hoping to see it in the theater, but I was seeing way too many movies around that time, and it kind of just slipped through the cracks. So
that's it though. That's what we got. We went on for over an hour.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Hopefully we didn't upset some of our listeners about our opinion on narrative in games. So I think it's a popular style of game.
I think people like story, and they're going to get that from us, but in a different format, because we're going to, like, all of our games are going to have story, but you can read it on your own time.
Yeah, feel free to actually in the podcast discussion channel, feel free to let us know what you feel about, like, with narrative in games, and how, if you like it and why, or if you don't like it and why not.
And maybe think of, like, if you reference any suggestions that, like, we've done, because we've done like story through cards, like in Street Masters you have story decks. We have like the Alter Quest campaign guide. We got the small excerpts that I kind of preferred in Hour of Need, where it's like these little punctuated story beats, but like Adam said, I think I'd prefer it if it was just smaller cards, but
or just shorter text.
Yeah, just less to read. But yeah, feel free to join the conversation, join the Discord if you're not there, and follow our Game Found campaign. Go review some books, because I'm going to some book events toward the end of the year, and I need some more reviews online. So if you're reading my books, go check them out, read them, review them. Thank you.
Thanks. See you guys later.
See ya.